Yeah.
All right. So as I was saying, I expect you by today. And if you didn't finish yet, but you're going to finish later today, that'll keep you on schedule to review those, watch those 4 15-minute videos, so 1-hour videos, professionally recorded, produced, and then work through the notes alongside the videos I prepared. And I sent you an email with the instructions. If anyone is not getting my communication, please let me know, because there's been some problems with some students receiving emails. So I moved things around a bit in here, and I put, oh, I didn't read these messages. I'll read those in a minute. So then you're supposed to pull these notes out, whether English or Spanish, watch these videos, and then watch the videos for reviewing these notes. And then check the annotated notes to see your responses against my responses. Okay. These were other background, these were from previous year. If you feel like you wanted more, something instead in a different way, slightly a different way, you could watch those. Or if you have a lot of time on your hands and lots of questions, these were the practice then to confirm experiential learning, right? To apply what you learned. If you didn't finish the quizzes, it's fine. For now, you can try them today or this weekend. And so what we'll do is, let's see if I answer these questions first. They're sitting here. Okay, connect. So the questions are for the group. It doesn't have to just be me. If anybody wants to respond to the questions, you can also respond. In parametric statistics, non-parametric statistics. The tests are going to be in English or Spanish. Okay, the tests are going to be in both languages, okay? And also I'll be available if you have questions while you're working on the test, so you can contact me if you're looking for clarity. In terms of parametric and non-parametric statistics, it'll be more clear when I talked about parameters and samples, and sometimes, getting the parameters will help determine the distribution. These are all terms you're going to understand better by the time we get to the second or the third and fourth modules. So it'll make more sense later. But basically, the idea of the parameter, like I explained, are characteristics of a variable that you have interest in, and that those parameters, there's some special measures that help describe the larger set of data. So they give a description of what's called the distribution. We're going to talk about that today. Non-parametric statistics attempts to summarize and make estimations about a variable or what's to come next without really using parameters that are predetermined in a predetermined distribution. It kind of creates its own distribution to take to make conclusions from and to make estimates with. So I think, but that'll all make more sense as we go on. So I'll leave that to there. So access to connect. Okay, so did everyone who wanted get into Connect for $50? Alejandro did not receive my emails. Okay, that's weird. Okay, Alejandro, can you email me? My email is there on the platform. Are you able to access Moodle, Alejandro? So if you're not getting my emails, email me, and then we'll see what's going on. We'll take it from there. Okay, so I have my platform ready. Okay, so let's get into the module and let's answer your questions, and then maybe I'll provide any additional instruction for things that were not clear. Fabian, just write me. I'll put you in contact with the representative, okay? She has better access to the bookstore than any of us. Okay. Send me an email. Everyone send me an email so I have a record. Ah, okay. That makes sense. About a backlog. Yeah, so maybe just just email me and don't worry about it because there's always time to do the connect. Like I said, those are not going to be the greatest of your concerns. This is reinforcing actually that the most important thing for you to do is focus on the platform, getting through the modules. All right. Just organizing my screen. Oh yeah, you can use it. Well, I can't exactly, well, I guess you could work with the license or free license. And I just I should make sure everyone has the actual book. So I'll try and find her. And unfortunately, people are already leaving for the holiday, and it's hard to find people right now too. Um, okay, so let's look at the platform here. And what I want to do is go to I moved all the resources up here so you could see them. If you did not click on it, there is justice for my students. I'm actually taking a course through continuing education, and there are professors who give too much material, really. It was a legal course, and the amount of material the instructor gave, it was impossible to get through. So, I don't want to be that professor. So if you're having difficulty getting through, let me know. But I put a lot of things. You don't have to click everything. Some of them are just backup, like the extra videos and things. But I'm gonna do my best to direct you on what you must review. Sometimes some professors put like you can mark if you've already reviewed a topic. And I suppressed most of that, but maybe that can help you too in your review. I'll think about that. But let me know if you're having trouble knowing what you have to do and what you don't have to do. Yeah, the checkbox mark. Yeah. The checkbox mark, it's a lot, it puts a lot of spaces in, and I think it can be intimidating when I have so many so many things. Usually what it does is it highlights if you've seen something or not. Damaris, what do you mean about the quizzes?
Now I'm not sure. I thought that I had completed everything, but now I'm like a little bit. Uh, can you show me just to make sure?
These ones?
Uh-huh.
Did you finish these? That's all.
I no no, but I thought that I had completed everything, but now I don't see anything.
Really? So if I do the checkbox, I wonder if it stays even. You have the
Okay.
text box here.
Okay.
I used to I used to worry about the tech. That's a lot of work to delete or put those text boxes in. But I
Mhm.
if you think it'll help you, that's good. So you think it erased? Do other people see that their work is not being recorded? Write me an email and I'll
Okay.
I haven't done the quizzes yet, so I am not able to know.
Mhm.
okay. So the check boxes are working, but I don't have check boxes on everything. So I'll go through and see where I don't have check boxes. I don't even know why this checkbox is here exactly, but I guess it means the whole thing. I did these a while ago. Okay, so yeah, that helps there. I guess I can put check boxes here. That way you'll stop when you see these and think, oh, maybe I don't have to see that. All right. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so let's see any questions then from you. If you have those kinds of questions, like some of the things we discussed, just email me so I have a record and make sure I answer them. Naisha,
Yes. Can you hear me?
yes.
Okay. So my questions regarding module 2 are
Mhm.
based on the first where it says introducción al curso, the notes there. At some point they make reference or ask reference for some examples regarding the video,
It's these
but
videos.
okay, because I, for example, I saw the videos, but in on page 5 from the notes, if I go to the one that it says, I'm gonna read it because in Spanish because I downloaded in Spanish.
Yeah, I can
So
get the Spanish one too.
okay, so the first one there down, when you go down there where you were, okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it says, number 1 says, un experimento impone deliberadamente algún tratamiento a los individuos con el fin de observar su respuesta. Un ejemplo en el video es,
Mhm.
so that's where I get a little bit confused. So
So
from
there,
the,
from watching the video, what was an example of an experiment that you saw in the video? So there you can just put, you don't have to describe everything, just mention the experiment. So which vignettes or which descriptions were examples about experiments? So there was, what do you remember for experiment? Given the definition that an experiment is defined by,
they did, like, for example, the soldiers, measuring the soldiers, and they also did the, from the lightnings, there was another one, right? Those were kinds of experiments.
okay, I'm thinking about which videos you watched now. Did you watch 15 to 18? Maybe you watched different videos. That's why. Let's see. I think it sounds like you might have watched a different video.
Okay.
So this one is yeah, maybe you watch 1, 2, 3, 4. You're supposed to watch 15, 16, 17, and 18 from this.
Okay.
So you
I
watch
think I
1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah, because I
It
follow the
says 1,
link.
2, 3, 4. Well,
Yeah,
which
I think I followed the link that you provided on the email, and maybe
oh
that's what
my
I get
goodness.
lost.
I mean, it's not the worst thing. It's only an hour of your time, but yeah, you're totally confused now. So,
Okay, now it makes sense. Why it
yeah,
doesn't make sense. Okay, got it.
exactly. Let's see. Let's see here. Maybe because I wrote video 1 de cuadro, but I didn't mean 1. I should put decision through data 15 on there. But yeah, it's either you click here or my suggestion was to go with module. Oh, so the suggestion was to go into here and watch 15, 16, 17, 18.
Okay, yeah, that's my mistake. Okay, my bad.
No, it's
Thank you.
okay. I'm sorry. But then if you went here and you did 1, 2, 3, 4, you saw something different.
Yeah,
It's
that's
a
what
little
happened.
less than an hour, so I don't feel so bad, but it's
No worries.
yeah, I could put the title better. Let me see, make a note. All right. Right. So Luis is making some comments and Juliet are saying that, and so yeah, she didn't see the video, so she she has no idea how to answer it. Yeah, so those are examples. Food coloring on lobsters. All right. So
Okay, got it.
then you just read the notes anyway. Um, Naisha,
Yes,
just read
yes.
through. Okay, so then when you watch the videos, it'll all be much more clear for you.
Okay, yeah. And nevertheless, on page 11,
Mhm.
where example number 4,
Yeah.
where it's regarding the factors,
Uh-huh.
and then on page 12 we have to, like, answer the factor count, the treatments and variables?
Okay, we can talk about that.
Okay.
So you watch the wrong videos, but then you watch the classroom videos with the notes. Is that what happened? Did you watch the
I
classroom
was
video?
No, I read the notes.
The notes first, and we're
Yeah.
confused the whole time, but it's okay. Um, but yeah, so I can talk about this. I can talk about this. So let's make a list of the things I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to talk about page 11, fact and example 4, and then what was the other thing you said? Oh yeah, that's it. And then what else? Anybody else or Naisha? Any other things you want me to describe better?
I think I thought, oh, sorry, go ahead. I don't know who was speaking. Let me lower my hand.
Julianne?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm kind of confused still between the block and the stratified because they used like the same example of men and women.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still like a little bit in the quizzes. I noticed that I'm still not understanding both concepts.
Okay.
If you could
No,
like
that's very, very common that people don't get it. So don't worry about that. I'll
okay,
explain that. Perfect.
okay, thank you.
And anybody else? And I'll put this video because I'm recording. I will put it also into Moodle. This is how I end up accumulating lots of videos because I record everything. Then I have Alejandro.
Yes, so I have a question, but it's about the quizzes. I don't know if I can ask that.
Alejandro, I can barely hear you. You can ask me a question, but I can't hear it. Can you put it in the chat? Alejandro, write it in the chat. And Damaris?
Maybe a little bit more clarification on the double blind
Okay.
concept.
And also, you guys can speak to me in Spanish. I understand Spanish, just
Okay.
so you know, but your English is great. It's just,
Mhm.
I don't want to let you feel uncomfortable at all. I want you to feel like you can speak here. So to everyone, you just said to me about, say it again, Damari?
The concept about the double blind,
Double blindness. Okay.
double blind.
All right. Janice Marie. Jenny, you have a question? Alejandro, your hand is still up? Okay, I think you just the hand is up. Silvestre.
Yeah. Do
Yeah,
you
you had a
listen?
question? Mhm.
Yes, I am confused in the page 3 in the last 3 exercises.
Page 3?
Yes, that my answers didn't match with the answers in the notes.
Ah, okay, sure. We can talk about that. We can. Did you watch the video?
Yes.
The explanation of the notes? I can
Yes.
talk about it. Okay, that's a good one. I mean, they're all good questions. It's just that those are important to know. Okay, page 3, the quiz. And what else? Quiz 2. Okay, 8 people. Okay, why is an observation? Okay, very good. All right. Okay, let's go in order then. I guess then that's the first one. Even though I received the question last, I'll just go in order through the notes. Okay, so on page 3 here, I gave you this quiz, and to feel more comfortable with the questions, you should try and answer the questions and see, what thought process you go through to answer, and then that'll help you better understand what maybe the alternatives are and how the values, because the values of the variable will indicate whether it is a quantitative or qualitative variable. In the first case, you're asked, in what faculty are you registered? And this one, probably everyone got it. It's put in alphabetical order. And, oh no, not even. So they're just put here. They're not even alphabetical. They're just put in an order. And the responses would vary depending what faculty the person is registered in. To analyze it, like I showed you on the platform, this example that we did here. No, it's down here. So I left this one here. So we created a list of restaurants, and then I numbered them so I could put them in my Excel sheet, and I could look at them and say, okay, this restaurant came up once, this one came up twice, but 3 came up twice here. So it's just a recoding of the names, right? And when that happens, that's what's going to happen for this case, that we're going to number each of the, let me close this, each of the faculties, and the numbers themselves are arbitrary. I could have made art 1, education continua 2, and this one 3, and this one 4. Or if I wanted to put it in alphabetical order, I could make ciencia number 2. It doesn't matter. So those are, we said, those are actually categorical values, and that all you have to do then is decide if it's ordinal. In other words, the numbers say that one value is superior to the other. There's an order involved. Or that there's no other information. Like we said here, this was nominal, but these ones, which included, they were the ranking of sales personnel or staff, okay? So the ranking, performance ranking, means something. I want to be a 1. I don't want to be 12 if I could be a 1. So the order matters. That's an ordinal variable. Okay, so everyone probably got that one. Number 2 was a question about on average, how many glasses of milk you drink. That is clearly quantitative. It's a number. The number means something, specifically in terms of the count. And then it was just a debate whether it was continuous or discrete. And I just said it's not very clear in the question. It could be either one, depending, which way you want to argue. Okay, so then the last 3 all have they look different, but I tell you that they're all categorical and they're all ordinal. And you might not have noticed initially, but let me explain why. So in this case, okay, so how dark, tan oscuro is the color of your hair, your natural color. And so here are the options, and you could say, well, that's categorical, because I'm not counting anything or measuring anything. I'm just observing and categorizing the hair color. But because it's saying that one is more oscuro, more dark compared to the others, there's an order involved. And notice I put them in order. This is the darkest, this is not as dark, and so on. I mean, some people can debate about the ordering here, but the idea is that it's an ordinal variable. You're going from the darkest to the least dark, the lightest. So that is a categorical ordinal. Is that okay? Janice?
I think it makes sense.
That's okay. That one was a little challenging because you might not have noticed what I was asking, but that's the order. All right, so then the next one, how often do you exercise per week? Okay, so we have 3 options. Now, if you think to yourself, I exercise 0, you know where you go here. If you exercise 6 times, you know you go here. But start noticing that I am picking categories, right? Because many numbers fall, well, not many, but 0 or 1 fall in this category. 1 or 2 fall in this category. So clearly there's categories. It's collecting responses. Okay, it's not a single number. It's not quantitative. It's not a single number. And then más de dos veces, so many values fall in here. So that's why these are categorical. This is a categorical variable. And then 1 is better than the other, or not better, but it's a higher number. You know, it's a higher number. So if you care about people exercising more, then this is certainly better than this one. So there is an order involved. So if I put numbers here, I call this one 1, this one 2, and this one 3. 3 is better than 1. So this is a categorical ordinal variable. It looks different than this one, but this is also a categorical ordinal variable. Then I bring you to this one. And most people, if they got the rest of the quiz correct, they got this one wrong because they see numbers. And when you see numbers, even though there's numbers here too, but that might throw people off. But there's numbers here, dollars, in fact. And people think that's quantitative. It is quantitative to get a value of a number, but the way this variable is created, there's many optional numbers in one category. So this is not quantitative, okay? So menos de 25,000, it could be 24,000, it can be 10,000, it could be 0. Many options in one category. So that's categorical. And then from here to here, 25,000 to 50,000, many options, many possible answers, and so on. And of course, more is higher than menos de 25,000. So this is ordinal categorical as well. So just because there's a number involved or a dollar amount involved doesn't mean it's categorical. I mean, quantitative. To be quantitative, it should be a single, clear, objective value. I mean, in terms of it wasn't assigned in a particular, in a subjective manner. It's just a number. You could see it on a tax return. Okay. Now, in spite of the fact that these are mostly, well, these variables are categorical ordinal. And I told you in class that we get more information when we have quantitative continuous data. That's okay. You know, it's not the highest quality of data, but so this is category. It's still, we can do some statistics with the numbers. Averaging doesn't really make sense. If you take this data and you average it, it's not the same interpretation as if you were to take these quantitative value numbers and add and average them, all right? And you can see that in here, if people have very low income, and many people fall in this category, and just one person or a few people, let's say many people have zero income in a, you know, on a survey, a very low income, and then one person has $1 million, you're going to take this category, which I would call 1, many times, and then average it with 3. Averaging that doesn't make too much sense, okay? And there's other problems with average that we're going to talk about in module 3. But it would be good to give you an example, but you can see that there's an issue there. Even if you had, you know, 5 people in this category with a very low income, so that would be 5 ones, and then one person with $1 million over here, understanding, you know, what the average is, it would fall in, it might end up falling in here or closer to here. And what does it mean? It doesn't tell us too much, okay? So that's why I'm refer to this having more info, because the numbers themselves are relatable. You can average them, and it means something and reflects back on what to expect. Whereas the numbers in this ordinal category don't necessarily do the same thing. And these, you can't even average these at all. It means nothing. That won't mean anything at all. Okay, so maybe an example would be an order, but I don't want to do it right now. I'll keep that in mind. I'll make a note. Maybe I'll do that later. I should create an example. I think I had one, but I don't have it in a little video, which could be helpful. But it's distracting for the main point that the best kind of data is quantitative and continuous, and that's what we spend most of the course on. But the fact is, many surveys are prepared like this. These are the kinds of questions, if you've ever answered a survey, this is what they look like. So from these kinds of surveys, the best you can do is display the data and use frequencies, you know, display what it looks like, where most of the people fall, and leave it out that. However, more sophisticated statistics can be done with this data, but we're not going to talk about it in this class. It's not going to be as simple. The important thing for you to remember from this exercise and this topic is that it's really important that you know what kind of data you have. And the fact that what I'm teaching you is for quantitative continuous data means if you get data like this, you can't analyze it the same way. It's really important to you to be able to identify that. All right, so let's continue. So the next question was, unless anybody still has questions about that, I can answer. So the people who didn't watch the right videos, make sure you watch that today. And if you're confused like that, just email me or text me. I can answer, put you in the right direction in the future. Okay. There was a question here about for this example, identify the factors, treatments, and the response variables. How many of them are there? So some of you haven't gotten this far, but can you try it? I'll give you a minute to try that, and then we will work on it together. So let me give you a minute for that. All right, are you ready? I have it here in English. So this example comes after the description of the physician's health study. And that's the one directly above here, where I talk about testing two different factors, creating 4 treatments. And this was an experiment conducted on people. So one of the levels of the factor had to be a placebo. That's because we have to control against changes in behavior or changes in belief that affect people's health or health status. So we want to attribute any effect to the actual intervention. All right, so after that, I asked you this question about making bread. A food scientist is planning to conduct an experiment to investigate the effects of different redox agents, different types of flour, and different dough mixing methods. So those are 3 factors. And each of the three factors has different levels, okay? Just like the aspirin had 2 levels and the beta carotene had 2 levels. Now, each factor will have, well, the first one has 3 levels, the second one has 3 levels, and the other one, different dose mixing methods, has 2 levels. And what we want to look for, we're going to make this bread. What we want to look for, so I've answered so far, let's see. I've answered that it's 3 factors. That's all I've answered. Okay, and then we want to make bread, and the question is how many treatments? So just like in the case above where we had 2 by 2, we're going to use the rule here to get the number of treatments by multiplying the factors of level 1 times the factors of level 2 times the factors, in this case, level 3. I mean, levels, sorry, I said it backwards. The levels of factor 1, the number of levels of factor 2 times the number of levels of factor 3. I don't know, catch myself falling asleep. So it's going to be 3 times 3 times 2
18.
is 18, and this is the number of treatments.
Okay.
It's my short for treatments. Okay, so you can calculate that. And then what you're going to do is look at 4 different things. You're going to score flavor, volume, density, and texture. So there's 4 responses. All right, so the next question I have for you, well, first, was that clear?
Excuse me,
Yes.
Professor.
Yes.
Are you showing a calculation or just the
Okay, sorry. I thought you guys could see. I forgot to hear what I was doing. Okay, so whatever I was saying, I'm gonna share it. Thank you.
Quick question, Professor.
Yeah.
Assuming that is it is it always gonna be so obvious that we had 3 of the factor for this we had redox or type of Tipodarina 3 times. But is it's gonna be obvious that we're gonna have those amounts, or
It should be obvious. If it's not obvious, well,
then it should be 1 or
if it's
something?
not obvious, you can let me know that it's not obvious or you're not clear, but it should be obvious. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I put the numbers here. I put 3, 3, 3.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll put it in words and you have to count.
Yeah, the reason why I'm asking is because if we get used to looking for
Numbers.
those, the formula is really easy, right? But
Yeah.
it could be just words, right? Like
Could be just words. Yeah. I could say there are redox agents,
exactly.
you
That's what I
know, KS3 and 5F4 and 68M1, you know, they could have codes or something. And then that would be really confusing, but you have to count them. 1, 2, 3 redox agents.
got it.
Good question. All questions are good at this point. All right, so what I want you to do is try and display the 18. Just like I did the 4 here, you could see them. I want you to visualize the 18. How would you do that? And I'll show you. I'll demonstrate, but I'll give you a minute to try yourself. All right, so I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to take this. All right. So what I can do is I can consider here a redox agent 1, 2, and 3, and what happened to my order? Okay, and then type of flour. One, 2, 3, and I can apply mixing method 1. I'll call 1. And here we have 3 times 3, 9. But we need 18. So how do we get the other 18? We do the same thing, but a different mixing method. So now we have 9, and 9 is 18. Okay. So if you have more than 2 factors, you have to, you have more dimensions. You have to replicate using the different method or different levels of the third factor. Is that clear? Please excuse my messy writing. My Apple Pen is, something's wrong with it. And I'm just getting used to it. I don't want to buy another one right now. Okay. Let's see the next question. Actually, I'll leave the drawing up in case someone wants to reproduce it. Oh, let me make some more points that I usually make when I describe this. So there's no control group here. We're just making bread with different combinations of factors. And these are the factors we believe impact the 4 responses here, which that's what we're testing. If we think there's other factors outside of our control that we cannot, put in our experiment, then we should make more than 1 loaf of bread just in case, to control against those other factors. Okay. So maybe you're going to make 5 loaves of bread for every combination, but I haven't included in here, but that might come up as you're reading the exercises as well. So anyway, back to the issue of there's no control group here. Is that okay? Is something wrong with that? There's no control group. So you might have a control group where you compare all of this to the old method of making bread. So you want to control it to something that you did before. It's not exactly the control group that I mean, though. Remembering to this experiment here, the physician health study, we had a control group because this was a human study. When you have a human study, and you can't control who's going to change their behavior and who's going to change the way they think that affects their biochemistry, that placebo effect needs to be controlled against. And the way that this was adopted was to create a whole group of people not receiving the treatment. And that's because it's a human study. So this control group notion is for human trials, okay, not for non-human trials. So human trials, human experiments require a control. And this one down here was a non-human study, the bread. Okay, so I didn't have to have a control group. I kind of put them together just to make just to contrast. I think you can learn a lot by contrasting and synthesizing what you learn. All right, so then the other question, there was another related question about double blind. Okay, so in this experiment, the physician health study was described. So people who did not see the video, you're going to see that they spend quite a bit of time talking about the physician health study. And then in the videos, I explain the background of the physician health study and how they create the treatment groups, and that they also studied beta carotene's effectiveness in reducing the risk of cancer deaths. They did that at the same time. The double blindness, when we introduce the control group, what we're doing is I explain how we assign, so we take all the physicians, we label them with a number, a code, all the way to 21,996. And then we use a random digit generator. So that could be a table of random digits. All textbooks and statistics have a table of random digits at the end. You can find them online, or you can use a computer to generate random digits. And I'm sure there's websites where you can do it as well. So if you want 5 random digits, the reason why we want 5 is because the last label on this doctor has 5 digits. So because the last one has 5 digits, all of them have to have 5 digits. So when we pull random digits, they all have the same chance of being selected. So as I randomly pick one, I assign it in turn to the different groups. So I pick and I go round and round and round until I have approximately 5,500 in each one. Then the bottles of aspirin, or the packages of aspirin and the packages of beta carotene, have been labeled with codes by a third party. So not the scientists conducting the experiment with nurses or research assistants to work with patients. They don't know whether the patient is receiving the aspirin or the placebo of aspirin. The patient, neither does the patient know if they're receiving aspirin or the placebo of aspirin. The only one that knows is the third party. So it could be a pharmacy, it could be a company that's sending them to a pharmacy that's putting the codes on, and keeping a journal or keeping a file or database of which codes correspond to aspirin and which codes correspond to the placebo. So that's the idea of the double blind. Neither the patient nor the researcher, the nurse, or the director of the experiment knows what the patient is getting. At the same time, they're gathering feedback from the patient. How are you feeling? They take their blood work. They conduct a physical. And but they won't be able to say, ah, you're doing better. Oh, the aspirin is working for you, or oh, you're doing worse. Maybe you didn't get the aspirin. They can't discuss that with the patient, or they don't get into that discussion because they do not want to affect in any bias. They don't want to produce or generate or precipitate any bias thinking of the patient or in a systematic way, bias the patient. That a person who's not getting it is more distraught and they don't do well because of that, not because they didn't receive the actual medicine. So that's the idea of double blind. Any questions about that? Or can I go deeper into that?
That is similar to what was presented on page 12, right? At the bottom where it's aleatory, where we have to assign the numbers, that one. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you assign the numbers and you follow the directions. How did I say to assign the numbers? Attach numerical labels beginning with 1 to the names. And the reason I give this example is because in the videos, often they use 2 digits or 3 digits. And this one I'm just saying start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But if you use 2 digits, you would have a different, you could do it. It's not wrong. But you'll have a different sample. You'll have a different result if you do label it differently. And maybe you could even label it. Sorry. Maybe that's confusing. I won't mention that, but it doesn't matter. They're all simple random samples, but they'll be different if you give different labels. The most important thing is the labels have the same size. Because Washington is an 8, they don't have to have 2 digits. So the last one determines what all the others' length has to be.
Excuse me, Professor.
Yeah.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, perfect. Sorry that my microphone wasn't working. I don't know if you could start with 00 since the instruction says attach numerical labels beginning with 1.
Yeah, not in this example. If you, the reason why I did that was to make sure you did this.
Oh, okay.
If I didn't say that, you could have done this because the videos keep doing double digits and they do it with a justification because they have like 20, labeled units. But I just wanted to demonstrate to get this list so we all have the same result in the end. If some people did this and some people did this, we're going to have dispute, right? So I had to be very clear. So if we selected with this, you're going to take 2 at a time and it's going to be a different result. I have an example showing that later.
So there will always, sorry to interrupt. So there will always be that instruction, like if that kind of exercise appears,
If there is not that instruction, then there's many answers.
Okay.
And that would be that would be what happens, is that there's many options. I do that in this one here. Let's see where. I don't know where it is. Is it just there?
I think it was that same example in one of the previous videos where you explained the 3 differences, and with those options, there were 3 possible responses too.
Yeah, but I think I actually had an example written, but maybe it's in. Anyway, thank you for saying that. I know that I discuss it. I think it's in the quiz. Is it in the quiz? Oh. Anyway, you'll see it.
I think it's page 17.
It's here. It's here.
There.
Yeah. 18. So here I tell you to do a selection and I don't tell you where to start. And then it turns out that there's 3 possible answers. And not to distress, I won't do that on a test or anything. It's just, that would be, the correct answer would be that it would be B, C, or D. There's 3 different ways to get the answer, 3 different answers possible. That would be something I would ask you if we had assignments and you had to hand it in and you had more time to contemplate. But I wouldn't give that on a test because that would be very confusing. It illustrates the example we just discussed. Okay, let me go back to my my list of questions. Okay, back now to the block and stratified, right? And page 3 quiz. Okay, we did that. Quiz 2. Okay, so let's talk about block. Any questions before I go to stratified?
Well, I do have one question, and maybe it's not completely that. Well, it's really specific about the double blind. Does it matter if one of the participants is repeated or not? I saw maybe in the answers they are repeated based on the code that
What we just, this one over here, this thing over here? This one? Or
yeah,
yeah, you shouldn't, if you're doing something with humans.
Yeah, obviously.
Not even humans, like if you're doing basic science type experiments with humans or mammals or beings, what to call, then you shouldn't use the same one because you don't know the impact.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking. And if it does or it doesn't matter, is it gonna be explicit in the content?
You assume that you cannot repeat. Assume that you cannot repeat. Like even with a survey, if someone gets chosen twice, you just skip that person. It explains it in the video too. They were already chosen, you don't repeat. So it's, yeah, it's you don't replace. So it's called like without replacement.
And in that particular case, if we are stopping, if we just want a sample of 4, are we gonna end up with 3 and say that we are skipping that one?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. But we do first we find them and then we just put like this one is repeated, right? Because we want to stop once we find 4 in this particular scenario.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So in this one, you pick the answer here will be, okay, so 0 is not there. Let me make it a little bit bigger. Let's see if I answer your question. So 0 is not there. Hey? I did already?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So this one, like the numbers are showing up twice, but there's no 0. Just keep erasing it. So all we have so far is 5. Then we pick 7. But see, 5 comes again, but we cross it out. Since we already picked 5. We don't pick them again. 0 is not there. 4. 9 is not there. 5 we already saw. You see, it's lots of repeated that we're just not picking. And 1. So what do I have? I have 5, 7, 4, and 1. 5, 7, 4, and 1. And then just make sure you pick the right one. They might not be in order. They might be in, I put them in alphabetical order. Castro, Munoz, Rodriguez, and Tulan. Okay, thanks for the question. Okay, so I talk about block design here in reference to experiments. In reference to experiment, block design is used I described here that, okay, so I started like this and I explained that. Oh, and I covered this up. Let me cover this up. All right, so I said we're going to conduct an experiment on people and the impact of this treatment on cancer patients, but this treatment is known to affect hormone levels. And we go through the usual randomization. We admit volunteers, we screen them, and then if they pass the screening, that they are qualified for the experiment and that it's safe for them, whatever that means in this context, then they are going to be randomly assigned to group 1, 2, and 3 with the process that we described, labeling them and then picking group 1, or, the first one we pick goes to group 1, the second to group 2, and so on. And then group 1 gets therapy 1, group 2 gets different therapy, and group 3 gets therapy. And one of these are the control, that they're not getting anything, okay? And then we look at their survival, and then we compare their survival and make sure that it's better than the control. What's wrong with this experiment? It could be that this one experimental group was all women. And it could be that this one is all men. Now, yeah, okay, it's unlikely, but it could be that because it's random. It's one of the possible outcomes. And then this is like some mix, and these were all in the control. So note. So the problem there is, let's say that the effect of the drug on hormone levels makes women feel just worse overall, okay? So if these are all women and they're getting group 1, they're in the group 1, they're getting therapy 1, the reason they're not doing well might have to do with the hormonal impacts in this group that is not affecting this group of men. And so you're confounding whether it's the fact that they're a woman that's adversely, that's having a bad result, that you're getting a poor result, and not exactly the drug itself. Okay, so to avoid that, since you already know that women and men are going to respond differently, let's just split it up. Let's just split it up and let men be in this group and do this experiment with just men, and then repeat the experiment with just women and do it like I said, but as volunteers appear, you divide them, you put the men in this experimental arm, and you put the women in this experimental arm, and then you do the same thing I described, but separating men and women, and then you compare women to women, comparing the two different therapies, and you compare men to men. So this is known as block design, and the idea is that the block is imposed because in advance, you know already that men and women are going to respond differently. And you don't want that to confound your results with the risk that it's only going to be men and women being compared. So you're just really comparing men and women. You're not comparing the treatments. So that block design in experiments is similar to stratifying in samples. In samples, it sounds similar that I want to stratify because, well, let's talk about that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to display the part of the video that discusses this so I mean, some of you understood this, but I know this gets confusing for others. If there's a question at all that gets asked, it's about that. Okay, let me go here and here and here and here. Okay, so this discussion here, so I talk about 3 different kinds of design or samples. So I talk about simple random samples, and then we talk about stratified random samples, and we talk about multi-stage samples. So this is for sampling for surveys as opposed to experiment, but still the same idea is that we want to have represented, you want this to be representative and the results to speak about, be able to be generalized to groups. So give me a minute. I'm going to pull up the part of the video where it discusses this, and then we'll talk about it for people who didn't get to see it yet. Give me a second. Okay, here it is. This was from Unit 18, and I'm realizing that the links I put there in the module are not the clearer videos because I uploaded the actual high quality video. So I'll link it with the better quality videos after this. I'll make another note. Okay, here you go.
A good sample design like NORC's ensures that the chosen sample is representative of the entire population. Even a large sample can mislead if it's not representative. In 1936, the magazine Literary Digest predicted that Alfred E. Landon would beat Franklin D. Roosevelt in that year's presidential election. The magazine based its prediction on 2,376,000 questionnaires, a huge sample size. The survey respondents were drawn from lists of automobile and telephone owners. At the same time, a young man named George Gallup used a sample of only 50,000 people and predicted that Roosevelt would win with 56% of the vote. Gallup's prediction was ridiculed as naive until the election. Roosevelt won with 62% of the vote, and Gallup's career took off like a rocket. The problem with the Literary Digest sample was economic bias. The list was weighted in favor of those with enough money to buy cars and phones, a much smaller portion of the population in the 30s than it is today. So because the poll was not random, it was biased. It missed the large pro-Roosevelt sentiment among lower-income voters. Letting impersonal chance choose the sample is the key to avoiding bias or systematic favoritism. We could use a simple random sample as our selection procedure, but we'd need a list to draw from that included every member of the population. And that's okay with small populations, but with large ones, it's not practical. Instead, we use a more complex design, one that's specifically tailored to lead to the kind of information we want. The sample is still drawn by chance, but it's selected in stages rather than all at once. A convenient way to divide the country is into its 3,000 or so counties. What we want to do in the first stage is to select a random sample from among these counties. In the second stage, we want a random sample of towns within each county. And finally, we want to randomly select individual households in each town. But first, we have to decide how to take the sample at each stage. Most of the 3,000 or so counties in the United States are rural. So if we randomly choose, say, 50 counties, we could easily wind up without a single urban county. That would not give us a very representative sample of the country. So before we sample, we first separate the counties into categories: urban, suburban, and rural. This process of dividing a population into units that are similar in some way, here urban, suburban, and rural counties, is called stratification. When we separate a population into groups or strata, we are dividing it ahead of time in order to produce more reliable results. Once we've divided the counties into groups, we take separate random samples from each. First, we choose from the urban counties, then from the suburban counties, and then from the rural counties. This is exactly how the General Social Survey is designed. First, all the counties in the U.S. are stratified by region and by urban-rural classification. This ensures that all regions will be represented and that there will be some cities in the sample. Then the samples are taken in stages. First, a random sample of counties within each stratum. Next, a random sample of neighborhoods. Then, a random sample of blocks. Once the sample selection is down to the block level, NORC checks a census list to see if any residences have been added or taken away.
Here's another batch of our sample frame updates.
The list is updated, and eventually a final selection of households is made. A careful selection procedure is essential for getting reliable data, but it's not all that's required.
Okay, so how's that? Oh, no, that's not what I wanted. I want to share. Okay, so just like in advance of even starting the experiment, we separated men and women. That's like stratification in surveys where in advance we make a plan and we say we want to study urban, suburban, rural, just like we wanted to study men and women. So we're going to apply the same procedures in the example in the video that I just demonstrated. We want to do the same procedures for urban, suburban, rural. We don't want those to be neglected. And then, so that's the idea of stratifying. The stages are used because, and they don't say it this way in the video, but the idea of the stages is to make it feasible or tractable to even conduct this experiment, this survey, because it's hard to get a complete list of households. All right, so let's see. I'll just talk about this a little bit more here. Does anybody have any comments?
I think what you mentioned in the beginning, I think kind of makes sense that, block design is for experiments, it seems, and then this is for surveys like US Census, the NORC study.
Exactly.
Is that the difference?
Exactly.
Okay. Okay, cool.
That's it. And it's just a different terminology. That seems confusing, but I guess it's different specialists that are doing experiments and then the people doing surveys. They're like different, like surveys are mostly, those kinds of surveys are social science surveys. They're done by sociologists and psychologists with economists, and it's just they're social scientists versus so they have a different vocabulary, different language, and they use the word stratification. But in experiments, you're working in this more medical sciences and engineering, more physical sciences. In that case, it's just again different technology. Sorry, different vocabulary for a different discipline, and they use the word blocking. But it's the same idea that you want representation. You want to be able to speak about men. You want to be able to speak about women, and their reaction or response to a certain treatment. But because we already know in advance they're going to respond differently, we want to speak about them, we separate them in advance. And the same thing here. We know urban, suburban, rural, because a lot of people live in the cities. If we just randomly select, so that's another thing, when with the surveys, we leave a lot of people out, and we don't want to leave people out. So we want to be able to represent people who live in the city, people who live in the country, people who live outside the city and the suburbs. So that's all to do with representation and stratification and in block design and experiments. And the multi-stage concept is basically it's resolving the issue. Well, I said here at the bottom, it's more efficient. You're avoiding the cost of trying to label in advance every household in an area. That's going to take a lot of time and money, and it might not get you even better results than just doing it this way. And this way involves in advance using lists that you can label that are easy to acquire. So you first make a label all the regions in an area, and from those regions you sample. So let's say there were 30 and you label them. The labels will look like 01, 02, because I know the last one is 30, right? So they have labels, two size labels, length 2. And then you randomly select from there, and with some consultation, you determine a third is good enough. So you take only 10. And then within the region, then you look deeper, you go to the communities, and now you have to make a list of the communities, and you happen to find there are 30 communities in each. I've simplified this, but there's 30 communities in each region. So you got to go through and put on the labels and then select, and you've been told in advance to get 20% of each. Labeling like this, rather than making labels of length 7, no, how much is this? That's 6, 7, 8. And, identifying all households and label all households and randomly sampling, and most of them are going to end up being in the cities anyways. That's not advisable. We're going to instead do we're going to do this whole process in the urban area, we're going to do it in the suburban areas, and we're going to do it in the rural areas. We're going to repeat this multi-stage process where we go closer and closer and closer. And in the end, we end up only having to get 100, sorry, we're going to get 1,200 households from on each block, and there were 240 blocks. So 1,200 households on each block in these communities. So it's going to be a total amount that's less than 18 million. It's just going to be a small sample. If you guys want me to go more carefully through this, it's explained in the video, I think. Pretty sure how you go through the stages. But the key point here about multi-stage is because you don't want to have to label 18 million households, and it's probably not going to give us anything better than doing it this way. And it's going to take a lot of time because people move. It's hard to get an address, contact, and that's up to date, that you're really interviewing the right people who actually live there by the time you get around to doing the interviews. Let's see the chat. Yeah. Yeah, you stratify in auditing. Ines is explaining. Very useful. All right. So how many, in this example, how many households will be, rather than 18 million, how many households will we actually interview? It's going to be 10 regions with 6 communities, so 60 communities. And then from the 60 communities, we're going to have to choose. We're going to have 260 communities, 4 blocks per community, 250 blocks. And on 250 blocks, there's going to be 5 households. So in the end, it's 1,200 households that are interviewed versus 18 million. Much more feasible. Did you get, Naisha? You got 3,600. Did I do something wrong? Because it's going to be.
Oh no, is that I thought that since we had to do this same stages
Yeah, thank
per
you. That's right. Yes, if you do it for urban, suburban, rural,
per
you're right.
each.
Yes, by what I described. But here in this one
Okay, yeah.
state, very good. Very good. Okay. Okay, so that's okay then with the explanation, multi-stage. So stratified is for representation. Multi-stage is to resolve the inefficiencies of not having an up-to-date or simple list. How did I say it here? It's to deal with the numbering and the labeling issue of having it's just going to avoid delays in your survey to try and get this up-to-date list. To avoid it, we go with lists that we know, a list of regions, list of communities, list of blocks. This is all already predetermined, and it's easy to finally get down to 1,200 for every multi-stage sample in this example. All right, then I have some discussion here and some quizzes and some assignment here. And I know it is a lot, but as you're going through this, you're really studying for the for the test. So you're not wasting any time. Okay, so we have like a half an hour left. I think I got all the questions in, did I? Oh yeah, the quiz. Let's look at the quiz. Quiz 2.
Sí. Sería un total de 187,48. No, es unidad de 2023. Okay, gracias. Si quieres, mira,
Is this the one, quiz 2.2? Well, am I sharing? Let me share. This one here. This is quiz 2.2, module 2. A group of 8 people work on the 5th floor of Plaza Universitaria. They all decide that they want to lose weight by increasing their physical activity. Four of them decide that they will always walk up to the 5th floor, rather than taking the elevator. The other 4 decide to always take the elevator when they are going to the 5th floor, but to take a 30-minute walk around campus every day after lunch. The 8 people weigh themselves each Monday morning and report their weight to their supervisor. And this is an example of, so these are the different options. And which one did you pick? Oh, you can put it in the chat. Let me watch the chat. If you're having a debate which one to pick, tell me in the chat. And I apologize that these are not in Spanish, but I think you can pull them out and go to Google Translate, and it's pretty good. It's a little extra work. That's it? Just Maria is guessing? Okay, so you guys are picking A. Is that the right answer? Who asked me the question? I think it's the right answer, right? And it's the right answer because, as explained, we're just watching their behavior. We're not controlling and trying to control against their factors that might influence the outcome. So we want to see that they've lost weight. And we want the method that they choose to be examined. All right, we want the method that they choose. And the ones who walk up the stairs, what do you think about the ones who choose to walk up the stairs? Would they possibly be different from the ones who would take the elevator? There could be factors outside of this experiment where we're saying the method that you use influences your weight loss. Maybe the people who walk up the stairs, they have higher energy, they metabolize well. The ones who want to take the elevator are a little bit more tired. They they don't have, they have different eating habits. They're not all eager to lose weight as much, or they're not capable of being disciplined and losing weight as the ones who because all we're doing is looking at the method that they take. We're not looking at their food, their intake, anything. We're just saying, oh, this method is going to determine who's going to lose weight. We don't know anything else about them. So there is a bias probably that the people who choose to walk up the stairs are different from the people who choose to take the elevator, and those people who will walk 30 minutes around the campus. So because of that, we're just observing. We're not imposing and randomly assigning individuals to the different treatments. There should also be a control group here for an experiment, right? There's no control group at all. I wouldn't know. We'd have to design one where they think they're doing something like the other ones, but they're actually doing nothing that's going to influence the weight loss. So yeah, diet studies are really hard to do as experiments, involves lots of controls, and that's why you find lots over the years. There's been a lot of fads in dieting that come and go because it's really hard to get good experimental data on it to say anything definitive and to, force people into these diets that, lifestyle has many factors, and how do you control against all the possible influences? But in this case, there's no randomization. There's no control. This is not an experiment. Okay. All right. I hope that helps. Okay. So okay, so let me know, is there any other comments, questions, clarifications?
Excuse me, I had a question about homework, question 15.
Okay. Oh, let me tell you about the homework I was going to tell you and I slipped my mind. Okay, so in the module 1, you see here? So this is module 1 with the syllabus and these resources that you'll look at these later. These are just resources I've put there as we go. I'll explain all of these here. These are the solutions to all the homework assignments, and not just the answers, but the solutions. So no, it doesn't start till the next module, but these are the answers here. I had my assistant write them all up, so keep that in mind. And you're asking for homework. Which one? Sorry?
It was question 15.
Yeah. A researcher wishes to compare the effects of 2 fertilizers, A and B, on the yield of a soybean crop. She has 20 plots of land available, and she decides to use a matched pairs design using 10 pairs. So that matched pairs design is where you have pretty much the same unit or subject receiving one of the treatments, the other one receiving the other. Okay, so then without reading the options, so then determining which treatment they receive is random, has to be randomized. So she has 20 plots of land available. She decides to use, okay, so she's going to have 10 pairs, and then assigning the treatment is randomized, either flipping a coin or using a random digits generator to decide who gets A. The other one will get B. Okay, so we read through. Use a table of random numbers to divide 20 plots into 10 pairs. Okay, no, the 20 plots, well, the decision of which pair, like how the pairs are assigned, if they're all the same, the best thing to do is to get the ones that are just beside each other because they're going to have the same exposure to the elements. If they're open air plots of land, you wouldn't want to use randomization to divide them. So I wouldn't say that. The randomization happens with the assignment of the fertilizer. So I'm going to skip A for now. So B, subjectively divide. So this is the key word here. So you're going to decide how to make the pairs because you want them to be the pair to be as similar as possible. The extreme example of a matched pairs was I described the Coke versus Pepsi experiment where the person themselves is their own pair. So that's an extreme example. But what you want to do with these plots is that the plots are as similar as possible, and they're going to be subject to other factors that are as similar as possible. So yeah, having them side by side would probably be it. Then for each pair, flip a coin to assign the fertilizer to the two plots. So that this B looks better so far. Let's try C. Use a table of random numbers to divide the 20 plots into 10 pairs, and then use the table of random numbers a second time to decide upon fertilizer to be applied. Okay, so again, we don't randomly assign the pairs. Flip a coin to divide the 20 plots into 10 pairs. So the whole key about this is understanding that the determination of the pairs is subjective. You decide. Subjectivity is not a bad thing. It just means that you're not going to leave it to chance. You're going to decide which ones are the closest so that you have a pair. So it's B. Is it B? It better be B. Let's see. 15 is B. Good. Is that okay, an explanation?
So just to clarify, when you choose subjectively, it's only when you use match pairs design?
Yes. Yes. So you're doing the matching. So matching is not random. Matching is predetermined. Either the word subjective. Yeah. Yeah. All the other options are randomizing both the creation of the pairs and the fertilizer assignment. And that's not correct. So thanks for that question. Any other questions? So since we agreed to just do 2 hours, next week we're not meeting because of Semana Santa. We are not meeting, so we're not going to meet for 2 weeks, it means. So in the meantime, according to the schedule, let's go back to the schedule. What does it say in the schedule? In the schedule, it says that I want you to have all of this done for the next time we meet. That's the 6th. Let me double check because we're not going to meet next week. And it's the 6th. So you have 2 weeks to finish GDS on your own. It is feasible. I will put the check marks in because there's a lot to watch. So let's go through that. Let's talk about, we have 5 minutes or so. Let's talk about what you're going to do. Because I know you're going to take some vacation and that's well deserved. And it makes you appreciate getting back to school and studying. But if you do a little bit to organize yourself every few days, that'd probably be best. I went too far, right? That's 3. Let's go back to 2. Yeah, don't leave it all to the end because there's a lot and you might get overwhelmed like I did with the course I was taking. You wouldn't believe how much material I was expected to read in 5 days while I was working full time. So this is module 2. So this is what we just did. Okay, module 3. Jumping back and forth. Module 3 is what I want. And so we have here, I'll do the same thing like I did last time and organize this. So these are the required lectures. These are the notes. In Spanish, okay, you need both of these documents, okay? You can download them or print them. And in English, oh, this should be up here. Anyway. So the annotated is only in English, and I apologize for that, but it's not easy to create this document because I tried to stay on the same page. And I have it originally in English. Anyway, I never created it. So you just have to see the answers here. Let me do something. I'll fix that after. Okay. So these two documents, this one and this one, you need for module 3. You're going to watch these two videos. These are 5 hours. No, it's like 4 hours of video. And it's just an introduction because these are the page by page recordings with check boxes here. And I didn't put the total time, but it's going to depend on you because you're going to watch it. You're going to watch it again, right? But they're short. They're very short videos to describe each page. And then once you've done that, you go through the 2 practice assignments. These are in Spanish. You can do the homework and then the quizzes. And then when we meet, I'll answer any questions you have. You can also contact me anytime and I can meet with you virtually as well. Okay, you don't have to wait until the meetings to clarify any questions you have. Yeah, the Connect. Oh, you guys see, it's funny that the assignments got transferred there. Honestly, I didn't even do that. I wonder what happened there. I mean, I don't know. Was I sleepwalking? But yeah, there are assignments in Connect. I didn't assign them. I'm going to review them. Those were from last semester and they appear there. The quizzes don't have a due date. Diana? They don't have a due date, but you probably want to finish them when you finish the unit, but you might want to leave them till the exam. You can do them at the end, but it's up to you. Yes, it's probably better to do it while you're in the same material module, but there's no due date. That's just for you. The due dates for you in general are these ones here. And they're all for you to self-monitor. And in S, the quizzes are not graded. It's just for you to improve. And they are unlimited trials. In the Connect, what I said about Connect is those are going to be the graded ones. And you only have to do 5 of the 7 or so that I will post. Yeah, you won't have a penalty if you miss a Connect because I will only grade 5. I only use grades of 5. Yeah, no. Just have to do another one. So I have to resolve the Connect problem before I make a Connect assignment. All right. So I'll let you know about that, Alejandro. And yeah, I have not signed anything in Connect. Can you actually open the Connect assignments with the wrong due date? Do they actually open?
They do if you do the free trial,
Oh, okay.
but it's not gonna be submitted, I believe. Like, I don't think the responses are recorded.
Okay. And how do you find the question? They're pretty easy, right?
Yeah, it was 20 questions and they were associated with the material, so I thought that was it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, then what I'll do is I'll just change the dates on those so when it's open, you can submit it. I won't change the assignments then if you've already started. Okay, so the decisions through data. So if you see the schedule here, I bolded these ones. You must watch 15 to 18. But the other ones are just suggestions. If you want to, you can watch 1 through 6 for GDS, this module. If you want, you can watch 7 and 8 for normal. These are just up to you. It's not going to be required, but they're nice. They're nice to see the material. I think they're really well done videos, and I've never found anything as good. So I use them, and I have permission to have the high quality version. So take advantage. Okay, so I did not link them. What you have to do, Alejandro, is go to this link here. Where did I put it? Okay, so decision through data, it's going to be from module 1. Maybe I can put it at the top of each module and you'll have it. The link is here. Yeah. So this is the key link for you. I put it here. You can write it down and that will bring you to the playlist. Oh, unfortunately, tinyURL did that, but you have to click it twice. And so this is the playlist. So this playlist here is just save the URL or so you can get back here. But this is the playlist here. So this is where you're going to watch from. I can put that in each of the tops of the modules so you can get it easily. So 1 through 6, that's 12 minutes. Yeah, they're about 10-minute videos. Yeah, these are nice. You can watch those. Luis.
Yeah. Okay. At the beginning of the class, we were talking about some people having issues accessing their email. I just wanted to make sure I'm not missing out. It was your last email on Wednesday, the 20th.
Sorry, I didn't understand, Luis. I couldn't understand the transmission very well. Say that again.
So we were talking about people having issues accessing the email. I just wanted to make sure that your last email was on Wednesday, the 20th, about the Connect group and the $50.
I think so.
Okay. Just to make sure I'm not missing it. Thank you.
Did anybody else get an email since Wednesday? I think that was the last one. Yeah. Okay, and I send the emails from the platform. I can check what was my last email. Let's see. Yeah, that was the last email. Okay, so I'll clean up like I suggested I was going to clean up everything. And we're going to stick with the schedule. If you need to see me, if you want to meet with me, that's fine. Just email me and or text me, right? And we can make an arrangement to meet virtually. And don't delay. Okay, if you get stuck with something doesn't work. Someone just asked me to show them how to do the connect thing. Let's see if I can't really do it because I can have you share and show how you did the connect thing, someone who feels confident of how they got in, because I won't get in because I'm not a student. I can't show the student view. Anyone wants to demonstrate those steps? So these are the steps here. Who can I ask, or who can volunteer?
I can try, but
let me let you share.
okay.
Hold on. Okay, there, go ahead. Demonstrate.
I'm not sure if
Share screen. Share.
Mm-hmm.
Are you sharing? I'm not seeing.
I am. So that's why I'm like, okay.
Pick what you, anyway, I assume you know Zoom. I'll assume.
Oh, I think no, this is not letting me. Ay.
I can share the screen, but I don't know how I got into this. But I can show the it looks,
Okay,
but I don't know how I did it.
okay.
Yes, Damaris, you can share, no
I
problem
can
at
say
all.
what I see, just to make sure that this is correct. So it's gonna be which screen this one? Can you see it?
Yeah. So
So
that's, but how did you get there? How did you
that's what
okay.
I cannot, I don't even recall. I know I got the code, I think, with the
Okay.
book. Once you download the book, you get a code, and then I think that's the way I registered for the.
I think you have to, after you enter the link, you have to, on the search bar, on the homepage, I think you have to enter the ISBN number and make this search by that. And maybe that's how you get there.
So everyone who's
Let
done it, they can't do it again because you already did it. You can't demonstrate. Let me try it. Let's see what steps I can do here. And thank you for your help there. But yeah, we're all kind of stuck because you'll see I'm gonna get stuck at some point too. So okay, the instructions are okay, so there's okay, go with the steps. Step 1. So you go here, you put the ISBN, so you copy this here.
Yep.
Exactly.
And you put it here.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes here. And
you had an extra space at the end there.
Wow, very picky. Okay, so this is it. And then I have to say, okay, what is the instruction? Hold on. Seguir el debido proceso de. So then it's telling me I can't buy it because it needs something, right? So because otherwise, if I go here, what happens? It goes here. Okay, so they want me to ask for the codes. So usually you can just click here and buy it. So I guess they're short. And then, so this is just going to let me write an email. Yeah. All right. So that's it. So that's so far.
There are
And
a
then once
couple of us that are just stuck in there. The other option is to have the trial that you get
14 days. Okay. So then after you do that, let's say you got the code, then you go here. And this is where I get stuck because I can't go in because I'm a professor. It won't let me in.
Yeah.
You put your email address, you go in, you put the code, right? Okay. And then it goes through. So how many of you actually got in? I know there's one person. No, yeah, I think there's one person I saw got in.
I think I got in. The only question that I had was that I thought that I completed the quiz because at some point it allowed me, and then I even hit the submit, but now it's like it went back.
Okay.
As if I didn't do it. So that's the only observation that I have.
All right. So keep, whoever did the quiz, just keep a record of your answers. So then when I open it, when it's all smooth and everything's going, you can put it in again. So I'll change the dates that are already there, and then you can input your answers again. And it should store it. It should grade it. And sorry for wasting your time with that. We'll resolve it soon. So I will contact the representative again and say I need 30 licenses. And let's see if she can resolve it for us. And again, the questions are not so hard. They shouldn't take you that much time. The focus for the next 2 weeks are going to be module 3 and completing page by page each module. I spent some time teaching you how to use the calculator, and I don't think I do much in Excel. I do more in Excel for the second part, module 4. I do lots in Excel. But for module 3, you're going to work with the calculator and you're going to learn about how to analyze descriptive statistics. So I apologize for not having the video on today. I don't have a camera here, but next class we'll be all set up here. Yeah, because I'm traveling right now, so sorry. That's why I don't have the camera. But
so Professor, sorry to interrupt. You don't need us to send evidence that we were not able. You just, it's okay. You just request on our behalf.
Yeah. I'll
Okay.
request to the. But if you've already sent me an email, it might activate, and I'll send it to her as well. If you have issues, but I'll see what she can do in the meantime. And I apologize for the textbook situation, but again, not urgent. If you guys can get the free trial for 2 weeks, that'll get you through as well.
Got it.
Okay. So any other comments or questions? I'll work on arranging the website a little bit so you can organize your viewing with the check boxes. There's a lot of stuff in 2, so it makes sense that I have the check boxes there.
Professor, I wanted to know if the homework, that's just for us to practice. That does not need to be submitted.
Everything is for you. Yeah, let's look again at
Okay.
the evaluation, just to clarify. All right, so the evaluate. I'm going to put your participation grades here. In the evaluation, all you have are the 2 tests, but you have to, don't wait till April 26th because it will be way too much material. Don't do that. I only did that once in my life and it was not, I still have nightmares. I still have nightmares from trying to study the night before. Not for statistics, it was for linear algebra. It was so bad in university. So make sure you follow my schedule up here. Treat every module as you're studying, as though you're studying for your final exam, because really all the questions I give you there are old exam questions. So you have an idea of what the exam's going to look like. And so those are the 2 tests, and then your participation showing up 5 times to the session with the camera on will get you your points. You have to participate when I ask you to chat or, questions or contributions. Make some contribution in those 5 moments. But every time you show up, I will record your participation in case at the end something happens and you don't show up. You'll always have a participation score if you showed up. If you don't have the camera on, I take one point off. So you can still get 4 out of 5 points. And then this is connect assignments. I say that I will put I'll put many assignments, but only 5 of them will be towards your final grade. And then, and that's it. Okay, so follow the schedule here. Anything you don't understand, let me know. This is the textbook, the Bowerman that you're trying to buy. This other one is another textbook that you could probably buy secondhand. It's been used as long as I've been around. There's a few versions that are circulating that you can get an old version probably on Amazon and have that as your home reference, because once the digital license expires, you don't have the book. Try and watch the decision through data videos and make sure you get through mine, okay? And if you have any questions about required and not required, just let me know. I'll do my best to put the note, put mentions in the platform of what's required, not required. All right, estamos. Have a wonderful holiday and study regularly. It'll pay off in the end, trust me. I've been doing this for a long time. Okay, take care.
Cuídense, buen día.
You too. Bye. Cuídense.